Hey everybody, thank you so much for tuning back into my channel. If you don't know already, my name is Jason, and in this channel I'll be talking a lot about foods that we love, and I'll be diving into the history of how they became prevalent in our lives. But since this is the very first video that I'll be posting to my channel, I'd like to start off by saying welcome to everyone, all of my viewers, to my family, my friends, even my enemies. You all support me, and I can't thank you enough for tuning in today. It really means a lot to me, especially during these tough times of COVID-19. But moving forward, I'd like to give a special shout out to my guy Kevin Sandoval for recommending today's topic, which is Spam Musubi. And for all of you watching, I am constantly looking for all kinds of foods and cultures to learn about and present to you. So if you have any ideas, drop them in the comments below. I'd be happy to take a look at them and make future videos on those. Now, if you're here for the making of the food and you don't really want to stick around for the history lesson, don't worry, I got you with that skip button. With that being said, let's get right into it. So what is Spam Musubi? Well, Spam is this salty, delectable canned meat you can find in virtually every grocery store. Musubi is a Japanese term that translates literally to ball of rice. Some of you guys might be asking me, what does it taste like and why is it so popular? Well, it tastes like a whole lot of umami, apart from the combination of rice and spam, but the flavor curveball that you get is from the musubi sauce that you find in between the spam and the rice. And then altogether it's wrapped up in a sheet of nori. So in my opinion, I think that because of its simplicity and its distinct flavor profile is the reason why so many people really like it and it becomes so popular to this day. But to understand why we love to snack on these so much, and why they became so prevalent in our food culture today, we have to go back and see where it all began. So looking back in the 19th century, Chinese immigrants were coming into the United States en masse to look for better opportunity and better living situations. At the time, Chinese people weren't really recognized as equal citizens, considering they were getting shit pay, doing shittier work. White Americans weren't too happy about Chinese immigrants taking jobs in the US, let alone having them assimilate their families into their neighborhoods. Even though Chinese transcended as hardworking to help build the first transcontinental railroad, as well as the mining labor of the California gold rush, they were always marginalized in their role to American society. Because of the Chinese presence, white Americans complained that they were seeing a decline in their wages, and they blamed the Chinese for the country's economic downfall. This eventually led to the Chinese Exclusion Act of 1882, which startled the banning of further immigration of Chinese people into the United States. With Chinese labor on the downfall, work needed at sugarcane and pineapple plantations turned to the people of Japan. From there, Japanese immigration soared as they filled the void left behind after the placement of Chinese restrictions. Now fast forward to the 1940s, the United States is going against the Axis countries in World War II, which happens to include Japan in the mix. Trying to feed a war-ravaged country, Spam was there to provide nourishment for the Japanese American internment camps and for the American military stationed in the Hawaiian Islands. Because Spam was a sustainable source of protein at the time, its relevance never really died down after the war. Which brings us to the influence of Spam being used in our food culture. With a heavy Japanese population in the Hawaiian Islands, food there evolved with the culture clash of Japanese traditions and post-war American influences. And that's how we were able to get Spam Musubi today. So let's go into the kitchen, I'll show you guys how to make it right now. First, you'll need to grab all your ingredients, and that includes rice, soy sauce, oyster sauce, brown sugar, nori sheets, nori furikake, rice vinegar, and of course, Spam. Alright, so now let's get started with the Spam. We'll start slicing it, and I found this slicer when I went to visit Hawaii, and it only cost me about like $5. But you can buy this on Amazon too, and I'll provide a link for it below. Now let's turn the heat up on high, and we'll start cooking our Spams. Now me personally, I typically like to have my Spams a little crunchy on the outside, so I'll cook it really fast on the skillet, and that'll help the slices be crunchy on the outside while maintaining a soft texture on the inside. You want to make sure that you get some color on your Spam. If you like it undercooked, that's totally on you, just know I'm not responsible for that. If you can hear your Spams talking to you, then you know it's being cooked right. And see how nice and crunchy those look. Now for your musubi sauce, all you're going to need is your oyster sauce, soy sauce, and your brown sugar. If you don't have brown sugar, then regular sugar is just fine too. So in my mixing bowl, I'm using about a half a cup of oyster sauce, 2 tablespoons of soy sauce, and about a half a cup of brown sugar. Now depending on how you like your musubi sauce, I typically like mine a little sweeter because it helps balance out the saltiness from the Spam. And the final thing that you'll need to prepare is going to be the rice, and it's very simple. All you gotta do is just take out a bowl and mix it around with a few tablespoons of rice vinegar. Make sure you don't skip this step, because if you don't add any rice vinegar, you're gonna end up with some bland rice, and it's not really gonna tie together with the Spam. Now we're gonna lay the nori, and then we're gonna start molding the rice. I found my rice mold when I was walking around in Daiso, and it only cost me $1.50. But if you don't have a Daiso near you, you can always get this on Amazon, and I'll also provide a link of that below. For this part, you want to make sure that you're doing everything in layers. So the first layer is just going to be a small layer of rice, and then after you press it down, you can add in your musubi sauce, as well as your nori furikake. Add a little bit or add a lot, however much that you feel like you want to put in there, and then you can top it off with 2 Spams on each side, and then cover the rest with more rice. When that last layer of rice is pressed down, then you can go ahead and remove the mold and start rolling your musubi. Notice that I put a little bit of rice on the edge of the nori. The purpose of that is so that when you roll the musubi, it'll help keep things together, so that way it holds better and everything won't fall off. Slice it in half, and there you have it. You have 2 Spam musubis ready to go for you. The only thing about Spam musubi is that the origins of it are a little unclear. One source tells me that it comes from the island of Molokai by a woman named Barbara Funamura, and it became popular after travelers from different islands purchased food from her restaurant and they brought it back to their home island. Another source says that it was invented in the 1980s from a woman in Honolulu named Mitsuko Kaneshiro, and she sold it from a drugstore, and after that the sales took off and the rest is history. And a third source even tells me that Spam musubis originated from a Japanese internment camp, because at the time those were the only ingredients that were available to them for consumption. But despite where it originated from, food is always being tampered with, and I believe that with the Japanese influences, it was only a matter of time before someone had came up with the idea of making a sushi like roll out of Spam. And that's it, guys. I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you learned something out of it. If you didn't, well, I'm no professor, am I? But with all that being said, I want to say thank you again for watching, and I look forward to making more of these videos for you. So stay tuned and stay hungry for that next episode.